Alright, so this little video is about volume. And what volume is it's the amount of three-dimensional space inside of a figure. Okay, so if you're taking a look at this figure, it's how much space fits inside of this. Okay? Another way to think about volume is it's the number of cubic units that fit inside of a figure. That seems to be a little bit easier to think of. So let's take a look at this Rubik's Cube. Okay, so the Rubik's Cube, if we count the top of it, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 little squares. And then we want to know how many layers there are, right? So actually we have one little cube right here, and then another one there, one in the middle, one here, one there, a couple in the back. So then there's 9 total, and then we have 9, 18, 27 of those cubes make up the whole thing. So if I was to take this whole thing apart and rip all these little cubes off, I'd find 27 of them inside of it. So that means the number of cubes that fit inside of that one are 27. So we could say that the volume of this equals 27 units, or little cubes. Sorry, it'd be cubed, because they're little cubes. Okay. Another way to think of volume that you probably have experienced in your life, maybe not a grizzly, but is this concept of volume inside of a 2-liter bottle. So this here is a bottle of Diet Pepsi, and it's how much Pepsi fits inside of this darn thing. So volume is another way to measure volume. We could use liters or gallons or pints and things like that. So this one here is a 2-liter, and so it's how much Pepsi fits inside of this thing. So that's that. Okay. The next one is this building, right? So if I wanted to find the volume of the building, that'd be like how many rooms would fit inside of this thing? How many people could I fit inside of here? Right? So the idea would be I would need to figure out how many floors it has, and then multiply the area of the bottom floor times how tall it is, and we get it. Okay, so that leads us into our first shape, official shape. The first shape that we want to find a volume of is a prism. This kind of looks like the skyscraper, right, with the thing. And then we already talked about the volume of this one, but a prism is a three-dimensional shape that has a polygon on its base and its top. So that's a polygon there, right? It's a figure made of straight line segments. And then here's a polygon here, and this is a polygon down there. So the idea is if I was to be able to figure out the area of this thing here and then multiply it by how tall it is, I can get the volume. Okay, so we've got polygon on the top and the bottom, and that's a prism. Okay, notice that it has the same one on the top and the bottom. This is called a prism. Okay, so the volume is equal to the area of the base times the height. So what that means is, again, if I was to find the area of this bottom right here and multiply it by how tall it is, that's the volume. So A with the little b means area of the base. Some people like to use a capital letter B, but I'll sometimes use that for just regular area. So I like to do A and a little b next to it. So area of the base, that's what that means. This is one thing. It's not two things, it's actually one thing right here, and it's just the area of the base. Okay, so what you have to do is figure out the area of the base. So the base of this particular prism is a rectangle. So what we do is we do base times height, so we get 3 times 6, and we get, okay, so the area of this one here is 18 centimeters squared, right? So this is the area of our rectangle here. Now what we have to do is multiply it by the height. So we get 18 times 4, our height. Okay. So 18 times 4 is 72 centimeters cubed. That is the volume of this. Now why is it cubed? Well, it's cubed because it's a three-dimensional figure. In other words, this shape, this prism, has length, width, and height. Right? So because it has length, width, and height, it's 3 dimensions, right? 1 dimension, 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions. 1, 2, 3 dimensions. That's why we use cubed, because it's a 3. Okay, the next one we need to talk about is a cylinder. So a cylinder is a three-dimensional shape that has a circle on its base and top. And when we talk about cylinders in everyday life, typically what we're talking about is a cylinder of a car engine, right? Like how many cylinders it has, like a 4-cylinder, an 8. This is an 8-cylinder apparently. They got 4 here and 4 on the other side. So this is like a V8 engine, and each of the pistons goes in this thing called a cylinder. And one thing that's important to know about an engine is how much volume it has, right? So if you were to figure out the volume of each one of these cylinders and add them all up, that's the volume of the engine. So that's where they come up with like a 3.8 liter. So if you were to fill all these up with water, which would probably be a bad idea while you were driving, but if you were to fill all these with water, that's how many liters of water would fit into your engine, into the cylinders. Okay, so to find a cylinder actually has a circle as its base and top. So there's our circle, and in our little example here we have a circle on the bottom. Okay, so notice it has a circle on the bottom and the top, same circle. It's a cylinder. So the volume, again, is the area of the base times the height. But the area of the base of a cylinder is always a circle, so we can replace our area of the base with our formula for a circle. Okay, so this formula right here is actually the same as the Prism one, except I've just replaced it with pi r squared. So the one you really need to look at is this one here for cylinder. Know that it's pi r squared times the height. Okay, so let's put some dimensions here. Let's say our radius is 4 feet and our height is 10 feet. The volume is going to be 4 squared, or sorry, pi times 4 squared times 10. So I've taken my radius, replaced it, taken the height, replaced it, and then crunch the numbers. So pi times 16, remember it's 4 squared, not 4 plus 4. So it's 16 times 10. So pi times 160 is the volume of the cylinder. If we multiply that by pi, we get 502.7 feet cubed approximately. Okay. So very simple. All of these, they have a little formula. You take what you have, you plug it into the formula, you get the answer. Very simple. Okay, let's look at pyramids. Okay, now let's look at pyramids. There we go. A pyramid is a three-dimensional shape that has a polygon on its base and extends upward to a single point. Well, that's just to say, looks like this thing, right? So, extends upward to a single point. That's the difference between a prism and a pyramid. A pyramid has this polygon on the base, right? But then it extends upwards, just like the pyramid in Giza, up to that single point. Okay, so here's our polygon base, right there, and then it extends upwards to that single point up at the top. Alrighty. The volume of a pyramid is actually 1/3 the area of the base times the height. So area of the base times the height, this part is a prism, and you can actually fit 3 pyramids into a prism with the same dimensions. Kind of interesting. We could do a little investigation on that. We're probably not going to have time to do that, but the point of it is that 3 of these guys would fit into a prism of the same height and same base. So, kind of interesting. Anyways, all we have to do then is we need some dimensions. There's some there. So let's say that we have a square base pyramid here, which is 6 inches by 6 inches, and then our height all the way up to the top is 9 inches. 9 inches. Okay, so then we just plug it in. The area of our base is base times height, which is 6 times 6, or 36. And then we just plug that in. 1/3 times 36 times 9. Okay, so I've calculated the area of the bottom first, base times height, got 36, multiply that times 9, and then we get 324. Now, if you're going to do 1/3 times this looks really hard, but because it's 1/3, all you have to do is just divide by 3. So multiplying by a fraction with 1 on the top is the same as dividing by its denominator. Very, very simple. So on your calculator, all you have to do is just divide by 3. Then you got it. Alright, the last one we're going to do is a cone. And a cone is exactly the same as a pyramid, except it has a circle on the base. So a cone is a 3-dimensional shape that has a circle on its base and extends upwards to a single point. Well, this one goes downwards, but if you flipped it over, it'd go upwards, right? So here's our ice cream cone, and here's our little example of a cone. And because it's a cone, and it goes upwards, it's just the same as a pyramid, except our area of a base is always pi r squared because it's a circle. So just like in the cylinder, we replace area of the base with the formula for the area of the circle, so we can do the same thing with a cone. So 5 meters is our radius, 7 meters is our height. Our formula becomes 1/3 pi times 5 squared times 7. Square 5 and you get 25. Multiply 25 times 7 and you get 175. Multiply that times pi and you get 549.8, then divide that by 3, and you get your final volume, 183.3 meters cubed. Okay, those are the 4 shapes, and we'll go ahead and practice those.